is Lorraine Garvey, and I'm here again with Greg Maguire of Absolute Insurance. How are you, Greg?
Very well, Lorraine. Thank you very much. And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And we're going to talk about something really important today because it's something that's often overlooked by business owners, and that is income protection insurance. So what I'm going to ask you to go through, Greg, is first of all, tell us, what is income protection? How does it work? How long do we have to wait? Are there any nuances that we need to be aware of when looking at income protection insurance? And then I'm going to ask you a few questions as well around, what are the common things that happen to people, not insured or not properly insured? But first of all, Greg, what is it? How do we go about it? What are we covered for? What do we need to know?
Basically, income protection is exactly how it sounds. It protects your income in case you have an accident or you have a sickness which requires you to take time off work. Income protection premiums are tax deductible. Therefore, if you do have an income protection policy in place, come tax time, you can claim that as a tax deduction. So it's very attractive from that point of view. You have what is called a waiting period. The waiting period is what you choose to wait until the income protection kicks in. The most common waiting period is 30 days, up to 60, 90, up to a year, and then finally 2 years. You'll find that most people do not have enough money saved up or leave to take out 1 year, 2 years. So the most common one here is 30 days, or the perfect one is 90 days. So if you take a 90-day wait, that means you're on your own for 90 days and you're using your income that you've got, savings and long service leave, those sort of things, to protect you and provide you with an income. The income protection will provide up to 70% of your income that you're protected for. So an easy example is if you've got an income of 80,000, then it will protect you for 70% of that, which is 56,000. Divide that by 12, that will be what you'll get. The benefit period is the period that you choose that goes from 2 years that you're protected, 5 years, or up to age 65. So if you have a benefit period up to age 65 and the sickness or the accident is serious, then you'll be protected up to that length of time. Statistics show that 90% of claims, of people who go and claim, have their claims sorted within 2 years, and up to 95, 98% within 5 years. So the last 2% are for those who are really severely hurt, pretty much totally paralyzed or whatever, and they will have theirs out to age 65. Most people, if they can take it, will take it out to age 65. The benefit of having income protection is that it does protect you for accident and sickness 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So is it worthwhile having? Absolutely. Everyone should have it. Unfortunately, not everyone can have it. But if you go and look on like real life insurance, which is advertises a lot on TV, the income protection policies and that they offer really aren't really worth the paper they're written on. You really need to go through the big companies like TAL, AIA, those sort of companies, because they've got a brilliant track record and they're also worldwide. And they're
probably want to put a disclaimer on there, Greg.
I would say though, yeah, let's put a disclaimer on that one. Opinion on that one. So let's move on. Next question.
Yeah. So look, Greg, I just want to know that this is probably seems like a silly question, but imagine I am, I'm really, really sick. I'm guessing that the salary continuance only kicks in if your sickness prevents you from working. So if I've got a desk job and I am then have something that happens to me where I'm paralyzed from the waist down or whatever, or something else has happened, but I can still work at that desk job, then it wouldn't kick in.
It can kick in. There are policies out there which will allow you to work like 10 to 20 hours.
Right, okay.
And which is great. But you do have the policies. Yeah, you're correct. You do have the policies where if you're working and your income pretty much stays the same and you can still work, then it won't kick in.
Yeah.
because it's just not gonna happen. It's the same as having workers' comp and income protection. Both of them can work together, but they won't go over a certain limit. So with the income protection, if it goes over the 70%, that won't come into play.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, Greg, I guess, we all think I think people are the eternal optimists. Most people are the eternal optimists, and we think, this is not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to us. What are some of the common pitfalls around this have you seen, and what does that actually lead to? Let's cross over into that. What could happen?
Well, look, it's more common than you realize. For example, I can use myself here. When I was teaching, I reached the age of 40, and I had a year where I had sick leave, long service leave, and everything else. And the guy said to me, look, what happens if you get sick? And I said, well, I don't need income protection because I've got long service leave and everything else, and I'm protected for a year. The next question was really relevant. And he said, well, what happens after a year? I couldn't answer it. So basically, if I had an accident or a sickness which kept me off work for a year, I was okay. But after a year, I had no protection at all. So therefore, I would be relying on hopefully getting back to work, or I would maybe have to sell my house, or I might have to move back with my parents or whoever could have me at that particular point in time. Worst case scenario, I'd be out on the streets. So having income protection is really, really well worthwhile. You can have your superannuation cover it, which frees up your cash flow. If you pay back into the super to cover the cost of the premiums, you can then count that as a personal tax deduction. So there's ways and means of having it. But the majority of Australians have that attitude, where she'll be right, mate. And it doesn't always happen, unfortunately.
And I think it's a shame as well. I mean, there's a lot of things, before I was in business, I just didn't really know that we could even have access to. You go into the world of networking and small business and you realize there's all these products and services and things that you can have that sometimes you just don't know what's available, which is a shame, really. But I think as small businesses, the brave hearts out there on the front line, we need some form of reassurance that, that hard work and the effort is going to at least pay your salary.
No, look, absolutely. The insurance industry is going through a hard time at the moment. We've got advisors leaving left, right, and centre, which means that there are less people that can advise and people can have access to. So it makes it even more vital that Australians get access to the correct advice in regards to insurance and superannuation and, in investments and also retirement planning and, even going as far as estate planning. I mean, how many Australians don't have a will? And I mean, I've got one guy who I see every 2 years and he says, oh, Greg, I'm going to get the will done. It's on my list. It's on my list. It's always on his list. And 10 years down the track, he still hasn't done a will. And it doesn't, it doesn't make sense. If he dies, the money goes nowhere. He dies intestate. So the people who should be the beneficiaries in that don't get it. And that's where the insurance in that comes in as well. The insurance and estate planning go hand in hand. And that's so you want to make sure that your beneficiaries and that get the benefit of what it is that you're protecting, and that is your assets, and that's your house, your superannuation, and so on. And I don't know how many times you can talk about it, and people just brush it off. I find it really hard to understand why it's not that important, or it's not considered important. I mean, for heaven's sakes, insurance advisors do have senses of humor.
Yeah.
And we are approachable. We're there to we have to act in the best interest of the client. And the best interest of the client is to have things in place which protect them. I mean, let's say that you're a business owner, right? And you've got a business owner and you're in tandem with someone else. The whole thing with insurance is that that's a cheap way of protecting each other. So if you're important to the business and you die, then either the business is going to fail, or you need to replace that person with someone else. So that's where the insurance comes into it. So you cross-insure each other. So I insure you. If you die or you're incapacitated, I can use those funds to get someone else, or you can help you to get better as well, and vice versa. If my role in the business is so important that the business isn't going to survive without me, or isn't going to go ahead, then you need to be able to replace me with someone else. I die, I'm married, my wife comes into the picture, she's going to want the money. She's not going to have any interest in what you got or whatever. So you're going to have to use money to pay her out. That's where the insurance in that comes in. So you can see that the insurance is a cheap offer rather than you having to go out and sell your home or get another mortgage or whatever to pay my wife out. So that's where insurance and that comes into it.
And the plot thickens and thickens and thickens. But I just all these business owners who just work all the time, it's so hard to get that business up and running, and then it's not protected and it can all go down the pan so quickly.
Absolutely. And that's where the insurance part comes in. It's amazing how many businesses don't have that. So anyway, that's where we are.
So, what people need to know then is they need to have the cover in place. It's a non-negotiable.
Look, absolutely. It doesn't cost anything to have someone come out to say, look, this is what we can do, and this is how much it's going to cost. You've got a broad base of insurers that you can insure from, you can choose from, and then you can proceed from there. It's so easy to do, but unfortunately, the insurance, like your house insurance, you insure your house, you insure your car. Why wouldn't you insure your income? Without your income, everything else goes south. And if you die,
and you just said a really important bit there as well, that we can pay this through our super.
Exactly. No, you can. Exactly. Absolutely right.
I think that's a big thing for business owners, but it's not an expense that you have to see up front. Then it's an absolute no-brainer.
Well, absolutely. And the great thing about it is that if you pay back into the super to cover the cost of it, you can count that as a tax deduction as well. So it's a win-win situation.
Well, I didn't know that, Greg, so I learned something new today. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure.
So, Greg,
that's what I'm here for.
You are. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise, letting business owners know what is available, what can happen, how we can move on. And at the end of the day, it's a simple conversation with yourself.
Look, absolutely. Within half an hour, you can find out whether or not you can actually help out the person concerned, regardless of whether it's a mum and dad or it's a small business or even a large business. It makes no difference. You can help out with that. Unless the person has got severe medical conditions or whatever, where there's going to be a lot of exclusions, you should be able to help them out. If they've got insurance, if I can leave you with one thing, Lorraine, if you do have a super fund, please check to make sure that you've got insurance with it. If you have got insurance within the super fund, but you're going to shift over to another super fund, make sure that the insurance goes with it. If you leave, that insurance may not come with you.
Wow.
And that could leave you in dire straits.
I think it's important there as well. Sometimes we just go make these decisions willy-nilly, and a phone call to an expert could prevent a lot of heartache in many ways. Yeah. Greg Maguire from Absolute Insurance, thank you very much for sharing your time and your expertise with us today.